Shaq is no fool when it comes to finances, along with being one of the most successful basketball players of all time. He's also a successful businessman with a net worth of over $400 million. Of course, such bank account comes with a lavish lifestyle, but you may be surprised to learn how conservative the big Aristotle is when it comes to spending. Stay tuned to see the absurdly inexpensive house that Shaq once chose to buy. But before we begin, like this video, subscribe to the Best Luxury channel and join our notification squad for more spotlights on the rich and famous. Now here is how Shaquille O'Neal spent his millions, since some of you may not know how Shaq came to possess such a fortune. We'll give you a short rundown with a 7-foot 1-inch, 300+ pound frame. Shaquille O'Neal burst onto the basketball scene in an unsurprisingly big way. The Newark, New Jersey native was the most imposing high school and college player in America. So it was obvious that the NBA was going to invest a lot in the giant whom people were calling Shaq. 1992. The Orlando Magic picked Shaq first overall in the entry draft and dropped $40 million on the then 20-year-old. The contract stands 7 years and was the most lucrative rookie contract in sports history at the time. He would play some of his best basketball with the Magic, but it was with the Lakers that Shaq cemented himself as one of the top centers in NBA history. After signing a 7-year, $121 million contract with the Los Angeles-based team, Shaq would go on to win 3 NBA championships and 3 Finals MVP awards. Along the way, he picked up endorsement deals, acting roles, grab contracts, and transcended basketball culture to be an imposing force in everyday American culture. After leaving the Lakers in 2004, O'Neal won another championship with the Miami Heat in 2006 and would spend seasons with Phoenix, Cleveland and Boston as an older yet still potent offensive and defensive threat. When Shaq retired in 2011, he was the highest paid player in NBA history, accumulating over $286 million in salary alone. But Shaq's earnings didn't dry up when his career ended. Now aged 46, Shaq is a highly paid sports analyst and businessman who has made many shrewd investments in prosperous companies, but financial expertise wasn't one of O'Neal's fundamentals. Like many rich athletes, Shaq spent a lot of money on a lot of useless stuff before he realized the value of saving and investing freshly out of his teenage years. Shaq down himself. A millionaire thanks to the Orlando Magic, unprecedented generosity on the day that his first $1 million arrived, Shaq spent all of it in a single day. After getting the confirmation call from his agent, O'Neal went to the bank and put the $1 million in a checking account, then left for the Mercedes-Benz dealership after returning home with a $150,000 Mercedes. Shaq's dad asked where his Mercedes was, unable to think of an excuse. Shaq went back to the dealership and got the same car for his father. Then his mom asked for the same car in a smaller version and he bought that as well with nearly $500,000 already spent. Shaq then bought rings, diamonds and TVs before finishing his shopping spree by paying off his family house. Thus Shaq became broke in his first day as a millionaire, beyond broke. In fact, because a few days later the bank manager informed him that he was over $50,000 in debt. The bank manager gave a stern warning to Shaquille about irresponsible spending, which inspired the future NBA legend to get a business manager. This made him one of the few financially responsible athletes, which is definitely not an exaggeration. Approximately 60% of NBA players go broke within 5 years of retirement, and 78% of NFL players fall into financial disarray within 2 years of retirement thanks to a proper economic education post-retirement. Shaq is richer than he was as an NBA player. Thanks to documents from Shaquille and his ex-wife Shoni's divorce proceedings, which are now public record. We know that Shaq was spending $875,000 a month in his heyday. While this might seem like a mathematical impossibility, consider that Shaq was making well over $20 million a year solely from salary. So these monthly expenses stretched throughout the year would have equaled to about half of his income at this time in his life. He was spending $156,116 a month on mortgages, $26,560 on babysitters, $24,300 on gas, $22,190 on maids, $17,220 on clothes, and $12,775 on food, and perhaps the most surprising total of all, $6,730 on dry cleaning. To be fair, these expenses were family expenses, but this still makes the monthly costs exceed those of a normal family by 100-fold beyond family expenses. Shaq has spent absurd amounts on his own toys naturally. These include cars. The big man sports a very big car collection full of very big cars. Yes, Shaq has a taste commensurate with his size rather than flashy and compact sports cars. Shaq enjoys those luxury vehicles that provide plenty of style and plenty of leg room. Included in his collection are a Cadillac DTS, a Ford Expedition, a Jeep Wrangler, a Lincoln Continental, a Lincoln Navigator, a Cadillac Escalade and a Hummer H2. Of course Shaq can't go without a little flash. He owns a Lamborghini Gallardo as well. Employees at West Coast Customs, a Los Angeles-based auto detailer, claimed they have customized over 30 of O'Neal's cars. Shaq's customization are pretty standard: sound systems, rims, custom personalization, one of which is stamping the Superman logo on all his cars. The most difficult customization that West Coast Customs must do for Shaq is create more room. Shaq's too tall to fit in the roomiest cars, so everything must be extended to accommodate his car-unfriendly frame. This makes Shaq's smart car purchase that much funnier. Speaking of safe purchases, we might as well get into home defense, for which Shaq has invested a lot of time and money as a former athlete. Shaq's propensity for trades and paychecks has led to the big man in several giant homes in several American cities. The first mansion that Jack bought was a 31,000 square foot compound in Windermere, Florida. The 21-year-old bought the 12-bedroom home for $4 million. Keep in mind this is currency from 25 years ago. Shaq actually put his decades-old mansion up for sale in May 2018, asking $28 million. He kept his home as his primary residence even while playing for other teens. But since the waterfront house is equipped with a 17-car garage, a 900-square-foot master bedroom, an indoor basketball court and a 95-feet-long outdoor pool, it was hard for Shaq to part with second paradise. And we can't forget to mention his favorite customization: the Superman logo, which adorns everything in the Orlando home from the walls to his own bed. But not all of his homes have been lavish mega mansions. Shaq's not above spending a reasonable amount on a house like the $235,000 he dropped on a 5-bedroom home in Mount Dora, Florida. While this is not Shaq's permanent home, even his taste in primary residences has become much more modest. For instance, in early 2018, O'Neal bought a 5,000-square-foot home in Bell Canyon, California for $1.8 million. This was another smart investment for Shaq, getting rid of the old and saving a lot of money on the new. One of his biggest hobbies is electronics. O'Neal has invested in many such companies, including Apple, in which he bought stock early in his career. He's also a big fan of apps. In 2014, Shaq admitted to the Wall Street Journal that he spends $1,000 a week on apps. When asked why, Shaq responded that he likes to be on the front lines of cellular innovation. So he makes sure to check out all the new and popular apps as an investor in several technological startups. O'Neal has a stake in the technology that is shaping our future in ways we can't imagine. So he's doing some of the cognitive legwork for us. One of Shaq's favorite genres of mobile games is hunting. In 1 week, he bought 20 Deer Hunter games and spends much of his downtime sniping the digital animal on his phone. Now it's not enough to talk about the big purchases in order to form a full picture of Shaq. We need to get into those personal expenses, and what's a better way to get into his mindset than to talk about his vacations? When his divorce papers went public, it was revealed that Shaq was spending over $110,000 a month on vacations. His love of travel is what led to Shaq being named the CFO, Chief Fun Officer of Carnival Cruise Line, in January 2018 as CFO. He promotes the company by starring in commercials and advertisements, and of course there's the added perk of getting to go on the cruises. Shaq spent time on the giant cruise ship called Carnival Vista, which sailed around the Caribbean and provided him with all kinds of entertainment from casinos to basketball courts. The Caribbean is a favorite spot of his, so much so that he went back in July to swim with sharks. Yes, as part of Shark Week 2018, Shaq traveled to the Bahamas to get into a special Shaq-size shark cage so that he could come face to face with sharks. One actually got in the cage, which was the first time this happened in Shark Week's 30-year history, despite there being so many positive components of Shaq's financial legacy. The thing that most people will remember is his binge spending. For this reason we'll close out this video with 2 more examples of Shaq's ridiculous splurging. In 2008, Shaq had moved into a temporary Phoenix apartment after signing with the Suns. Unfortunately it was not furnished, so Shaq did what he had to do. He went to Walmart and spent $70,000 in one shot, buy everything with the apartment needed. When he got to the checkout counter, his American Express card was declined as a security precaution. So he was forced to talk to an Amex representative to confirm that it was indeed him making the purchase. Another big spending spree happened in 2017 when Shaq dropped nearly $1 million on his daughter, Amira's Sweet 16 party. It was held on the roof of Hollywood's W Hotel and included, among other entertainment, the rapper YG performing in 8 songs set to top it off. Shaq bought Amira a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, all in a day's work for a man who can lose millions of dollars a pop and still be financially stable. That's all for how Shaquille O'Neal spent his millions. What's the most amount of money you ever spent at once? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.